Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
And today we're going to be cracking open Ben Sharf's screenplay, Antilope.
Antelope.
And, on the surface, you might be thinking, oh, a screenplay about an antelope, okay.
Right.
But trust me, there's some really interesting turns that this screenplay takes.
Absolutely.
And it really kind of gets into the anxieties of success.
Yeah.
And the nature of creativity itself.
It's a fascinating exploration of authorship.
Yeah, and so I think this is going to be a fun one to really deep into.
I'm excited to get into it.
So what's really interesting about this screenplay too,
Yeah.
is like the way that Sharf sets the stage. It's like this pressure cooker of a scene,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really like confined entirely within this limousine
Oh, yeah.
that's parked outside of like a bustling TV studio in Berlin.
Right. So you immediately get this sense of claustrophobia almost.
Yeah, it's like, you can almost hear the noise outside, like the
Sure.
sounds of the city, but they're like trapped in this bubble.
It's like this little microcosm of tension.
Yeah.
This little bubble of anticipation and anxiety.
Yeah, and so we've got this chauffeur who's, just trying to do his job.
Right. Just another day of work.
And then in the back, we have this famous award-winning author
The celebrated guest of honor.
who's on his way to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award.
You'd think there would be champagne and excitement.
Yeah, you would think it'd be like celebratory, right?
Exactly.
But the mood is anything but.
It's surprisingly somber.
Yeah, and Sharf really uses this like confined setting to build tension right from the get-go. You see the author, he's drowning his nerves in vodka,
Self-medicating, perhaps?
while the chauffeur is about to light up a joint.
Trying to cope in his own way.
Yeah, and he's clearly like feeling trapped in his own life.
Yeah, you can sense his dissatisfaction.
Yeah, you almost feel bad for him, right?
It's hard not to.
He sees the author's success
Yeah.
as like this escape from his own mundane reality.
Yeah, like a glimpse into another world.
It's like, man, if I could just have what he has, then I wouldn't be,
Right. The grass is always greener.
Exactly.
But what's fascinating is how the author responds to the chauffeur's anxieties.
Yeah, this is really interesting.
Instead of dismissing them, he actually reveals his own insecurities.
Yeah.
He admits that he doesn't feel like he deserves the award.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and even goes so far as to call himself a fraud.
Wait a minute. So this award-winning author
Mm-hmm.
feels like a fraud.
That's the twist.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there.
Definitely sets the stage for some really interesting questions about authorship.
So this is where Sharf's exploration of authorship really kind of takes center stage.
It's like he's peeling back the curtain on the creative process.
So the author actually goes on to describe his writing as a mere photocopier.
A photocopier.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That's a powerful image.
And he's basically saying that, he's not really creating anything original.
He feels like he's just replicating existing ideas.
Yeah, just repackaging them in a different way.
And to illustrate this point, he uses his own successful book, Antilope, as an example.
Okay, so the book that like launched his entire career,
Yeah, his magnum opus.
he's basically saying is someone else's vision.
It was heavily influenced by an editor,
Wow.
and it strayed significantly from his original concept.
So hold on, we have this book that is like the cornerstone of this author's success.
Yeah, the book that made him famous.
And he's saying it's basically not even his own.
That's the irony Sharf is playing with.
Yeah.
The idea that this author's success is built on something that doesn't feel truly his own.
It's a powerful statement about the nature of creativity and authorship.
And it raises a question of what originality even means.
Exactly. So what about the original concept?
Well, he describes it as a much simpler, more relatable story
Okay.
about a zookeeper struggling to recapture an escaped antelope.
So it's like a very literal antelope story.
Yeah, much more straightforward.
Right.
And it was a story that actually mirrored his own feelings of being trapped.
Oh, so there's like this personal connection
Very much so.
to this original concept,
It was a reflection of his own internal struggles.
which is fascinating given where he is now.
Right now, he is this celebrated author on his way to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award, but still feeling trapped.
And this is where it gets really meta,
Oh, yeah. Buckle up.
because the chauffeur has actually read Antilope,
No way.
and he found it insightful and thought-provoking.
He connected with the themes of freedom and searching for meaning.
But the guy who wrote it, dismisses it as nothing special.
Oh, wow. That's a great point.
So you have this clash of perspectives,
Like
right?
total disconnect.
Like the chauffeur is genuinely appreciating the book,
See its value.
but the author's like, meh, it's whatever.
It highlights the subjective nature of art.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
is there even such a thing as objective artistic merit?
Or is it all in the eye of the beholder?
Right. Like what makes something good or bad or meaningful?
These are the questions Scharf wants us to wrestle with.
And it makes you think about how, our own experiences and interpretations
Yeah.
shape the way that we engage with art.
Absolutely, our baggage influences how we see things.
Exactly. Okay, so back to the limo.
Right.
The tension starts to rise.
Things are about to boil over.
When the studio manager appears and he's like demanding the author, get out.
Time to go, Mr. Big Shot author.
But then the chauffeur does something totally unexpected.
Oh, what's that?
He hands over not just the car keys, but also his jacket
His jacket.
to the manager.
That's a strange move.
And the manager's totally caught off guard
I bet.
by how calm the chauffeur is.
It's almost like a transfer of power.
Yeah, and it's this subtle but really crucial turning point.
It's foreshadowing something.
Yeah.
Scharf is setting us up for something big.
It's almost like the chauffeur is like stepping into the author's role.
Taking his place.
And it really foreshadows this blurring of identity.
Which becomes central to the screenplay's climax.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that
Can't wait.
in just a minute.
And Scharf then just jumps us forward a week later.
Oh, wow.
When we find the chauffeur in a quiet cafe.
Ooh.
Watching a video of the author accepting the award.
All right, so he's seeing this all play out, from afar.
Exactly. And here's where the screenplay takes this like mind-bending turn.
Okay.
The author's acceptance speech is almost word for word.
Yeah.
The chauffeur's earlier monologue
What?
about his frustrations and anxiety.
Oh.
It's like the author somehow absorbed the chauffeur's experiences and repackaged them as his own.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a real head-scratcher.
So is he doing it consciously?
That's the big question.
Or is there like something deeper at play?
Scharf leaves it open to interpretation.
Okay.
Is it unconscious? Influences a strange coincidence or something more deliberate?
Yeah, it's like how much of this is like,
Well-
the author like stealing versus like,
Is it plagiarism?
yeah, or is it just like,
Is it inspiration?
osmosis or something?
Right, or is it just the universe playing a weird trick on them?
Yeah, and it really challenges us to consider like how our interactions with others
Even fleeting encounters.
might shape our creative output
Absolutely.
in ways we don't even realize.
Like we're all sponges soaking up experiences.
Yeah, and then, we wring ourselves out on the page.
Exactly. And sometimes we don't even know what we've absorbed.
Right, and so the chauffeur's reaction to this is so powerful.
Yeah, it's a turning point for him.
He's visibly shaken.
He's having an existential crisis,
He orders a vodka on the rocks,
just like the author.
and he starts writing a story of his own.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah, he's not just this guy driving a car anymore.
He's becoming an author right in front of us.
Yeah, and it's like witnessing the author appropriate his words has like awakened something in him.
It's given him a voice.
Yeah, and the chauffeur's decision to write and his choice of subject matter
Right, let's talk about that.
further blur the lines between these two characters.
Just the roles are reversing.
So his story is about a chauffeur driving an author to an awards ceremony,
Oh, the irony.
and the chauffeur claims he's a true source of the author's success.
Layers upon layers.
This screenplay is like an onion of metafiction.
It's Scharf at his finest.
And then Scharf doesn't stop there.
What else does he do?
The screenplay ends with this image of an antelope enclosure,
An antelope enclosure.
bringing the whole thing full circle.
Oh, wow.
Remember how the author's original concept
Mhm.
was about this zookeeper and an escaped antelope?
Yeah.
Now at the end, we're left with this image of an enclosure.
Symbol of confinement.
It's almost as if Scharf is suggesting
Yeah.
that no matter how hard we try to break free,
From the constraints of our lives.
our experiences or even the influence of others, we're always in some way contained.
Trapped by something.
So we've got the chauffeur feeling trapped in his job,
Right.
the author feeling trapped by the expectations of success.
The gilded cage of fame?
And ultimately, maybe we're all trapped within this cycle of influences and experiences that shape who we are.
And what we create.
I mean, that's a pretty heady concept
It is.
for a story that starts with a limousine ride.
Right. But that's precisely what makes Antelope so compelling.
It's deceptively simple on the surface.
Yeah, it takes a mundane situation.
And uses it to explore these profound questions.
About authorship identity, the creative process itself.
And it really challenges us to consider where our ideas come from, how much of our work is truly original.
And what it even means to be successful.
And it's not just about the big philosophical questions either.
What else is there?
Scharf actually weaves in some really pointed social commentary.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Remember how the author talks about the system
Yeah.
that rewards conformity over genuine artistic expression?
Ah, so he's critiquing the establishment.
Yeah, he's saying that everything from education to publishing pushes us towards just repackaging ideas.
Instead of coming up with truly new ones.
And it's like prioritizing structure and marketability over true originality.
Right. It's all about fitting into the mold.
And it's the chauffeur, the outsider,
The one outside the system.
who sees through this facade and recognizes the authentic heart of the author's work.
That's a great point.
So it makes you wonder if true originality is even possible.
In a world that's constantly trying to fit us into boxes,
Are we all just products of our environment?
borrowing and adapting ideas without even realizing it.
Are we all just antelope in an enclosure?
Or are we capable of breaking free?
And finding our own unique paths.
These are the questions Scharf wants us to ponder.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's saying that, real creativity comes from like embracing those influences, those like messy, interconnected experiences, and like finding our own unique voice within that chaos.
Right. It's not about rejecting influence, but rather filtering it through our own lens.
Exactly, but then where does that leave us?
Yeah, that's the challenge Antelope throws down.
Like, how do we reconcile this idea of originality with the reality that we're constantly like being shaped by the world around us?
It doesn't offer easy answers.
Yeah.
But it encourages us to grapple with these questions, to examine our own creative processes and the societal forces that might be limiting our potential.
And I think it's particularly interesting how Antelope uses like the chauffeur's journey
Right.
to illustrate this.
He's our entry point into these themes.
Yeah, he starts out feeling trapped and insignificant.
Another cog in the machine.
But by the end, he's like taking ownership of his own story.
Yeah.
Choosing to create on his own terms.
He's empowered.
It's a powerful reminder that
Yeah.
inspiration can come from the most unexpected places.
Absolutely.
And that sometimes the most profound stories are hidden in plain sight.
Right there in our everyday lives.
It's like, you don't have to go on some big adventure
You don't need to climb a mountain.
to find a story worth telling.
Sometimes the most powerful narratives are right under our noses.
And it's funny, when I first heard about Antelope, I was like, okay, this is going to be a simple story about an animal escaping from the zoo.
Right. A cute little animal adventure.
But Scharf takes this simple premise
And flips it on its head.
and uses it to explore some really complex ideas
He's a master of subverting expectations.
about success authorship.
And the very nature of creativity itself,
It's like a Trojan horse of philosophical inquiry.
wrapped in a seemingly straightforward premise.
Yeah, and he does it in a way that's both thought-provoking and entertaining.
Right, it's not a dry lecture.
Antelope is one of those screenplays that just stays with you
It lingers.
long after you've finished reading it.
It gets under your skin.
And it prompts you to re-examine your own assumptions
About the world and your place in it.
Yeah, it's definitely made me think differently about the stories we tell
The stories we consume.
and the stories we carry within ourselves.
Our own personal narratives.
Maybe in the end, it's not about chasing some elusive idea of originality,
Yeah.
but rather about recognizing the interconnectedness of our experiences
And finding the courage to express our own unique perspectives.
within that tapestry.
Beautifully put.
And who knows, maybe Antelope will inspire a few listeners
I hope so.
to start writing their own stories,
To uncover those hidden narratives.
waiting to be told.
That would be something truly special.
So to anyone listening, if you're feeling creatively stuck
Mm-hmm.
or unsure of where to find your next big idea,
Remember the chauffeur and Antelope.
sure.
Look around, listen closely.
Embrace the messy, beautiful complexity of your own experiences.
You never know where you'll find your next antelope.
And that is going to do it for this deep dive.
Until next time.